try to get that done.
Do we have any questions from the members? Seeing none, thank you very much. And we will move to our final panel member, Paula Labrie, Acting Director, California State Lottery. Paula, thanks for being here, and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon, members of the committee as well and the staff. Paula Labrie, Acting Director of the California Lottery. As was stated earlier by the Legislative Analyst's Office, the Lottery Act was authorized in 1984. I might add that it did pass by a significant vote of the public. We have, along with that, a body of regulations that we abide by, a 5-member commission that is appointed by the governor and confirmed by the Senate. The 5-member commission must meet at least once a quarter. Over the last 2 years, we've been meeting much more than that, sometimes 6-7 times a year. And they approve regulation changes, expenditures over $250,000, our business plans and other business that we bring before them. The Lottery Act can be amended by legislation so long as there's approval by a supermajority of both the Assembly and the Senate, and then approval by the governor. In order to pass such legislation, though, it also must demonstrate that it furthers the purpose of the act. So there is a way to amend the Lottery Act. The mission of the lottery is to provide supplemental funding for public education, and I'll emphasize supplemental funding for public education. I know we are going on our 30th year of being in existence, and I know it's probably been some time since the public has been reminded of really what our mission is, and I think there has been some confusion in the past that the lottery was to actually fund public education. Well, that is not the case. It is to provide some maximum supplemental funding. Lottery revenue is generated solely through the sale of lottery products. In other words, we take no general funds. And the breakdown of the public education is that the supplemental funding goes not only to K through 12, but also to community colleges, state colleges, universities, University of California, Hastings, and then special schools as well. So once you get it all broken down among those beneficiaries, it really does not amount to a whole lot of money for them. But it is crucial funding for them, as many of the schools have told us how they spend their lottery money, and that it is crucial. Since the inception of the lottery, over $28 billion has been dedicated to public education. I'm going to talk a little bit about our operations and then take you into a little discussion on AB 142, which is a legislative success for the lottery, and we certainly appreciate that legislation having been passed by these bodies. In terms of our operations, we employ over 700 people throughout the state of California. About 400 of those are in our sales and marketing department. We are very unique as a quasi-state agency in that we are a sales and marketing organization. We are headquartered in San Francisco. We have 9 district offices throughout the state where our sales teams gather and have their territories. We also have 2 warehouses within the state, one in West Sacramento and one in Rancho Cucamonga. That's where our supplies are sent and shipped out to our retailer network of 21,000, and hopefully growing. With respect to our retailers, our relationship with them is contractual. They have to undergo background checks, and I might mention that since it did come up in other testimony, the lottery also has a police department. We have sworn peace officers that act as our investigators. They are at headquarters, and they are also at every district office within the state. They are charged with assuring that our retailers are operating above and aboard and consistent with the fullest integrity for the lottery. They do sting operations. They do catch bad guys sometimes, and they work closely with law enforcement and DA's offices to try to see prosecutions through. We currently offer our retailers, they do get percentages of sales, and they do get percentages of selling winning jackpot ticket up to $1 million. So they are part of our part of what we give to the economy on an annual basis. Many of them are small businesses, so we are helping out on that front. In terms of our product mix, now some of you may be familiar with this. The lottery has grown so much over the last 30 years, and I'll talk a little bit about the limitations when I go back to AB 142. But so basically what we have is two multi-state games. One is a $1 ticket, and that's the Mega Millions. The other is a $2 ticket, and that's the Powerball. Those are two multi-state games, which means that we are part of a consortium throughout the United States that pool the money together to have this game. So if there is a winner can come from any of the other participating lotteries. California has had a significant amount of these jackpot multi-state winners over the last couple of years, so that's something that we're always glad to be able to report. We currently have an in-house or in-state draw game, jackpot game as well, and that is the Super Lotto Plus. We sell instant games or scratchers, and you probably have all seen some form or fashion of those, with price points ranging from $1 to $20. We currently have about 40 instant games in the mix and on the market at all times. We replenish every month with 3 or 4 new games. It does keep the public excited, and we do see sales around that time when sales increase around that time when we're introducing the new games. So we try to keep it fresh. So those are our instant games, and then we have other daily games, and there are 4 different daily games. They're not jackpot games, but they have a lower amounts in which the maximum prizes are, and then we also have a hotspot. We are also pari-mutuel as the horse racing industry, and about for every dollar spent on lottery products, 95 cents goes back to education and the community. We are certified in 2 areas, and these are new things, so I would like to just bring them to the attention of the committee and the public. World Lottery Association is a global unit that essentially is a think tank and a structuring of best practices among lotteries on a global basis. For the past 2 years, we started projects wherein we wanted to apply to be World Lottery certified in gaming security and integrity and in social corporate responsibility. We went through the rigorous task of trying to bring everything up to spec so that we could get this World Lottery certification, which is the highest certification you can receive in the nation. So I am happy to report that we did achieve that in gaming security and integrity and in corporate social responsibility at the highest level, and we are the only lottery in the United States to hold both of those certificates. With respect to AB 142, so this was in 2010, and I believe it precedes me, but it took some time to get AB 142 passed. And essentially what that bill did was the structure of the lottery prior to that was that we were obligated to give 34% of our revenue to public education. That's it. That's the bar. Didn't matter how much it was, 34%. The remaining, there was a 16% that went to administrative expenses, and then the remainder of that for prize payout. Many other states did not operate in that fashion. So AB 142, what it did is allow the lottery to change its structure so that 87% went to education and prize payout. So we didn't have to have a 34% every time for education, but within that 87%, you mix between prize payout and what you pay to education. Our administrative expense dropped to 13%, so that's what we operate under now, and we currently operate at about that much for administration. What this allowed for the lottery is to increase its prize payouts. So where before we could only offer a ticket at the highest price point of $5, which would have had maybe a $150,000 top prize, we can now offer $10 tickets with top prizes of $1 million, and we can offer $20 tickets, and we do. We have 2 on the market with top prizes of $5 million. We plan to offer a $30 ticket in honor of our anniversary, and that will be on the market later this year. That is being developed as we speak, and we'll just see how that goes before we determine whether we want to keep that in our product mix. The lottery had record-breaking sales last year of $5.3 billion, and it's our highest sales ever since inception of the lottery, and we made our highest contribution to education in history of $1.35 billion. We have grown 13% over the prior fiscal year, and we have become the third largest lottery in terms of sales in the United States. To compare that, we were number 6 in fiscal year 2010 and 11. We are on track this year to meet our sales goals of $5.43 billion, which is $30 million over our goal, actually. And we're still crunching numbers, and again, this is unaudited, but we are expecting to surpass what we contributed to public education as well. And before I take questions, let me just essentially, our structure is that it is the commission that does approve our regulations, the operations of the lottery. It is my job at this point as acting director, and essentially I'm COO as well, to run the day-to-day operations and steer us in the direction in which we want to go. We are heavily audited. We are audited by the State Controller's Office. They come up with an annual audit plan. They get to pick whatever they want to audit us on, and that's what they do. We also have an internal auditor who comes up with an annual plan about what he would like to audit within the lottery. We also have financial audits from independent accounting firms that are under contract with us to do our auditing every year, and the reports that we have to send over to the Department of Finance as well. So I did want to make that point. There are a number of reports that we do have to issue on a regular basis, some to my commission, others to legislative bodies. We do have a very good working relationship with the staff of the two committees here in the legislature, and I think with that I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you for your testimony. Do we have any questions? Could you expand a little bit on the increases in revenue you guys have seen in respect to the reductions in overhead expense and what the relation is there and how that worked?
So with respect to the overall growth, let me just say, so from last fiscal year, so we were at 4.4 in 2012-13, 13-14, 13-14, the 5.3, and then the next year. So it's about $400 million growth every year. So, I mean, if I'm understanding you, I think your question is going to be, so what are we using to operate off of, basically? What's the administrative expense there? Is that what you're getting at?
Well, and what are the drivers of that kind of growth?
The drivers of the growth is, one, it was the success of AB 142. I mean, it really put us in a playing field with other lotteries that had this at some time, and then allowing us that flexibility. Because at the 34%, yes, okay, so there was a standard amount basically that we had to give to education every year at that percentage, but a percentage is only as good as its base. So we weren't allowed to make more money and have these prize payouts where they were with the $20 tickets at $5 million. I mean, that attracts people. So the sales have just really, really increased, and we're able to offer more of those products because we have more money to in our prize expenditures to be able to offer that to the public, and we're seeing great results as great success as a result of AB 142 just in terms of playership. Now, having said that, I will also say this. Yes, AB 142 and that passage did provide us the avenues to make these kinds of strides, but I would be remiss if I did not mention that the staff at the California Lottery is very, very excellent, and they have worked very, very hard to get us to the places where we are right now. So I do want to mention that.
Okay. How many investigators do you have?
I'm feeling you were going to ask that. So there are at least 2 to 3 in every district office. So we have the 9 district offices, so it's 18, and then there are, I would say, about 20, 25. That includes supervisors, because we do have the supervisors in the. Right.
And how many investigators do we have at the DOJ?
Grand total sworn 47. So that includes supervisors and managers as well.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions? Mr. Salas.
Yes, no, thank you for your testimony. I just had one question about the lottery that I've been curious about. A lot of talk lately about online this game, that game, but I was reading something that the state of Illinois has like an online way to purchase tickets for the lottery. And I didn't know if that was a discussion happening at the commission, or maybe you can enlighten us just a little bit about what the thought process there. Are we looking at what other states are doing? Are we not?
Okay. Thank you. Yes. So with respect to online gaming, California is prohibited from doing that. So we have in the legislation, .28 prohibits us from doing certain things, and we can't do online. Other states don't have that restriction, and they are doing it. Illinois, I think, is one. Georgia has some going on as well. Some are doing subscriptions whereby you purchase online lottery tickets. Buy your tickets for the month, I suppose, and then you have that. There are some fine lines in terms of what is considered, online. It's my understanding that in the other states, and I don't have specific sales figures, but I mean, I think it's kind of lukewarm. I think maybe it may need to catch on more. You get the discussion about problem gambling. With respect to online, although that is one area where you could essentially monitor and set limits like what we have done with our Play at the Pump and with our Second Chance. So for California, at this point, we're just a student of online gaming. We're watching. We're seeing what is developing. And in the meantime, it is challenging because most of our players, although they cross all of California demographics with respect to ethnicity and with respect to economics, our group, it tends to be older that plays the lottery. It's the younger demographic that, we can't touch. They live in a very different world. And so we have to, one of the challenges is to be able to adapt the lottery to what the world is right now, bring us up to date with the century, but at the same time stay within those confines where we need to stay until there is or if there is a change of law.
Okay.
So we're a student right now.
Well, thank you. No, I was just curious more than anything, seeing these things happening in other states, and I didn't know. Well, you're in this world every day, so how it's not only operating, but even if it's coming to fruition, like some folks anticipate in terms of revenue and whatnot back to the state. And
one of the things I think we'd be happy to do for you is to provide you with some information about the revenue that's being generated in other states that are doing it right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Cooper.
Yeah, quick question on the lottery. I know you guys do a great job as far as apprehending folks that are submitting fraudulent winnings. Is there a backlog of your cases, though?
That's a good question. They would be provided with, I guess the DA's office. I guess they'd be a matter of public record from the if they were prosecuted. So, let me check with our security and law enforcement division to see how far what they save and how far back that goes. Yeah, because I'm really not sure.
That's fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, any additional questions? Seeing none, thank you all for your testimony. I'd like to remind everyone we'd like you to submit your testimony to the respective consultants for both the Senate and the Assembly Committee. So if you could, those that are still up here at the panel and those who have maybe perhaps moved into the audience, if you could do that, we'd appreciate it very much. At this time, we're going to move to public comment. So any members of the public who would like to make comments about today's hearing, please approach the microphone. Okay, seeing a relatively shy public, we'll go ahead and move to our closing remarks. Certainly thanks again to all of the participants on the panel. Today's discussion, I think, was informative for the members of the committee. We will have an additional informational hearing scheduled June 24th, where we'll delve into some other issues in respect to gaming and potentially the expansion of gaming and the regulatory environment here in California. Appreciate all of the members who have been here and asked good questions. Hopefully we're all better off for it. And with that, this hearing is adjourned.